The following episode of Boris and Matt Weekly is dedicated to the memory of Grant Wahl.
The champion on his feet, challenger coming too. Oh, Judas a back block, counter, waist lock, single leg into a double leg. It's Claudio. 3, 4, 5. Are you kidding me? And his legs are showing no sign of slowing down. What? Hey, careful. No champion. He's champion. He tapped. He tapped. He tapped. New champion. New champion. We got a new champion. Are you kidding me?
Winning this match by submission and new Ring of Honor World Champion, Claudio Julie.
Unbelievable! I didn't see that.
Welcome to Sunday night's main events, Ring of Honor Final Battle Aftercast. That is the podcast after the show, where we are going to be chatting all things Final Battle. I'm Boris, and I am joined by Matt.
Bonjour. How's everybody doing out there? We hope you're doing well. We hope your Monday morning's getting off to a good start. If you're listening to this right away, Boris, I'm so happy to hear that song. What an excellent choice for the theme song, buddy. So we're not going to do too much dilly-dallying here on this episode of BAM. We're not going to spend too much time talking about anything else other than Ring of Honor Final Battle. Having said that, Boris, we got some big news today, and I can tell you got a rant just a bubbling under the surface. So there are big rumors that Twitter, owned by one Elon Musk, don't you know, is expanding its character limit from, 280 right now?
Something like that.
280 characters per tweet. They're expanding that to 4,000 characters per tweet, which is probably going to be the end of me on Twitter. Boris, how do you feel about Twitter expanding to 4,000 characters potentially?
Well, I don't even know where to get started on the whole Twitter thing, right? So I've seen some absolute asinine stuff coming from people in regards to people losing their jobs. You know, like it just opens up a huge can of worms for me. You know, like I work in the tech industry,
like directly in that field, right? Yeah.
I can't get into too much detail for many reasons, right? But you know, all I can really say is I've been on that path where literally everyone in the world knows about your job, knows the business about your job, and it's all ha games because people are getting fired, that company sucks, blah, 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 right? You know, you got to think of the people. These are people with families. We're in the holidays right now. People are losing their jobs. Literally today, I know as a fact that more people got laid off from Twitter as they're not signing up for the insane plan that Elon has for Twitter 2.0. I've been there. I've been in a company when they say, let's just rewrite the entire platform and release something in record time. I was there, and let me tell you, we honestly did all of BlackBerry 10 in 12 months. It was an absolute insane release. Code was rewritten in under a year. So, you know, the pressure that these people are on is just absolutely insane. And sometimes just seeing the comments of like, oh, these employees work 4 hours a week or something like that. Yeah, no, you don't. The stresses of the tech industry is insane. There's a reason why the tech industry, you know, gets those quote unquote perks, why we get breakfast, why we get, food, you know, not just breakfast, but all food, why we get dry clean service and this and that. Because they want you to essentially live in the office. That's what a lot of people do. And then it just, you know, just seeing some of the comments from people who just have zero clue, zero idea what the hell's going on. It just really gets to me, especially when, you know, on top of all of that, you're literally concerned whether you're going to have a job in a day, 2, or a week, or whatever it is, right? It just really gets me. But from just a technical point of view, they're essentially, what I'm seeing from Twitter, from what stuff, is they're essentially going to be more of a blog type site moving forward.
Yeah, basically like mini Substack,
mini Tumblr.
Yeah, mini Tumblr. Yeah, I don't know about this. I'll give it a chance, but like my whole thing with Twitter was I'm not gonna just quit just because Elon Musk took it over. Although I am not enthused about it, obviously. But once my personal timeline changes, a lot of people said this. Like my timeline hasn't changed. Twitter's still doing the exact same thing for me that it was 5 months ago. So whatever, I'm okay with it. That's about to change overnight, apparently, right? Once this 4,000 character thing happens, I'm going to open Twitter one day and everyone's going to be long form telling me that they've, eaten a cinnamon bun or taken a poop or whatever the joke about Twitter that we want to choose today is, right? So I don't know, man.
Can you imagine the internet wrestling community with 4,000 characters?
No, legitimately, that's actually why I'm going to quit Twitter, because that's a lot of, since I've joined Sunday Night's Main Event Radio, my algorithms have been way more wrestling focused than they were before, because I'm in these Facebook groups. I'm interacting with so many wrestling fans every single day that my social medias thinks I'm more obsessed than even I am. You know what I mean? So yeah, 4,000 characters worth of wrestling fan is probably going to get me off of Twitter. Although, having said that, on our Sunday Night's Main Event accounts, it might lead to more and better discussion. On some platforms, I like the long form. I like that we have Facebook posts that are well thought out. We have people who contribute a lot of good things. So it might not be a death knell. Yeah, here's my question. This is some conspiracy shit now. Do you think Twitter is being tanked? Do you think Elon is trying to ruin Twitter on purpose to benefit the oligarchs of the world for whatever fucking reason it might be? Who knows?
I cannot comment on that. I really can't. Like I have my opinions, but just for NDA reasons, I cannot comment on any of that.
Fair enough, brother. Fair enough, brother. So yeah, I just in asking that question, I think in my opinion's a little bit clear. I wonder and worry, because Twitter was legitimately, and it sucks that we have to use the word was maybe, but Twitter is at this point legitimately a highly valuable social tool. It has helped people being oppressed. It has helped people during wars. You know what I mean? All this shit. And if Twitter dies, it's bad for society. Though Twitter can be annoying and there are some bad faith actors on it, if Twitter dies, it's fucking bad for society, man. It's not good. It's not what you want.
As bad as Twitter can be, I agree 100%, right? Like at the end of the day, it has helped the oppressed. It has helped the voiceless. It has given a voice to those people, right? Like let's remember the Egypt stuff, right? Like it's helped us in those weird times. The day-to-day of Twitter, though, is look at the internet wrestling community. And I always look at any fandom, not just wrestling. You should see the comic book
comics,
stuff. Yeah. It's unreal. Sometimes. Unreal.
Star Wars.
Yeah, I don't know why I based my free time activity to do podcasting in these fandoms. It's actually hilarious. If you really know me and know how private of a person I actually am, it's actually hilarious. But yeah, it just, because we see that stuff every day, we kind of forget how Twitter has benefited us and helped us. And it might not have helped Matt and Boris, but it has helped people with no voice, literally when their regime is going bonkers on them.
Yeah, even like Twitter's given me information and a laugh over the course of the last 8 years. I think I've been on it, 10 maybe, 8 to 10 years. And yeah, I've never literally have not benefited 1% professionally, like in any way. Some people have. That's great. I just I've never been into the tweeting. I'm not a huge social media guy. That's one thing that I need to get better at. As I try to become a content creator, I'm more about the content than advertising my own face and arse. Anyway, there's going to be a lot of people advertising their own arse with 4,000 characters, buddy. It is going to be annoying. I feel for the social media managers of the world who are now going to be just inundated with all these annoying brands, like all these asks. Every tweet's going to be like, every ad you see, Pepsi is going to be fucking you know what I mean? Like details about the new Pepsi Zero, clear Pepsi. Like it's just going to be quite annoying to scroll through Twitter.
What's interesting with this is that a lot of people, us included, when I don't think it's a secret to anyone, but I control 99% of the social media aspect of SNME, right? That's why it's sometimes a little quiet. You can only do so much in terms of social media stuff, but you know, my training in social media, and I've done this for years, right? Like I've built brands off of social media. And one of the things is that I've always based everything from social media off of Twitter because of the character limit. So, you know, you only have X amount of characters. So you want to repeat the same messaging, the same branding, the same whatever, because you know that's how you imprint it in people's head. We've talked about this, you know, WWE being an expert at this. There's a reason why. As much as we laugh at it, we say WWE Universe, stupendous WrestleMania, etc. Right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of people and a lot of brands base their social media blueprint off of the way Twitter works because it is a lower character count. So by expanding that, you're gonna be seeing a lot of brands redo their social media and things like that.
It's the old Marge Simpson. A part of us all. A part of us all. A part of us all. Sorry
Lisa
to repeat myself. No, it's true. That we'll remember these Vince McMahon buzzwords. We'll wake up in a cold sweat at 3 a.m. screaming the universe. You know what I mean? It's they're deep ingrained in us, and that happens for a reason. Anyway, so yeah, that's Tech Talk with Boris and Matt. Just wanted to touch on that because I saw that 5 minutes ago, and I know it pissed you off greatly. So yeah, buddy, let's take a little pause. I'm gonna get a coffee, and then, big homie, we got to talk about Final Battle Ring of Honor 2022.
All right, but before we get to RoH, there's one last thing I want to quickly touch on. A lot of people who listen to these shows have been listening to the World Cup date. Means a lot. Thank you so much. Honestly, it was this random thought that I had like 5 a.m. That we would be doing these shows. You know, I wanted to do it every day that there was World Cup games. Real life got in the way. And this weekend, Phil and I were 100% planning to do stuff. But I'll talk about it more on the World Cup date shows. But it was a little hard to talk football, knowing that someone that I personally worked with, someone who I respected, someone who I had great conversations with, just suddenly passed away in Qatar. And Matt, I know you heard about this, and that's Grant Wahl, super famous American journalist, really one of the first journalists who really put soccer on the map, saying this is legit, and he helped so many people. Everyone in the soccer community has a Grant Wahl story, including someone who's not even in the soccer community. He has a Grant Wahl story, and that's LeBron James.
Absolutely. I remember. I distinctly remember subscribing to Sports Illustrated at the time when Grant Wahl wrote the Chosen One story about LeBron James. I remember that's like the probably most seminal, like the most memorable Sports Illustrated article of my youth was the one about LeBron James. That's the one that sticks with me the most. And I didn't even realize it was Grant Wahl who wrote it until he passed away. So incredibly sad, man. I don't even want to belittle this by talking about like the whole conspiracy aspect of it. It's so shocking and sudden. And I just feel so bad for his loved ones and his family and the soccer community, because it is a tremendous loss.
Yeah, I know it's a huge loss, and like I said, you know, personally working with him, up until he left Qatar, we exchanged emails once every few months, right? He was just one of those people that as soon as he met you, he would know your name, and if he liked you, he kept in touch with you regardless. It's just one of those people that, man, it's just crazy. It's honestly crazy. It is insane for me to think that he's gone.
Yeah, it's really sad, man. Yeah, I don't even know what to say. You knew him to some extent. You know exchanged emails with him, and yeah, man, I just couldn't imagine the pain his family is feeling, and I know the pain that you're all feeling in the soccer community. So
Yep.
yeah, just a tremendous loss. Rest in peace to like an all-time great in the world of sports journalism.
Yep. All right, so let us get into the wrestling of stuff because that's what we're here to talk about the most today, and we're going to specifically talk about Ring of Honor as they brought Final Battle 2022, the 21st edition of Final Battle. Matt, going into last weekend's show, I had a mixed bag of emotions. Part of me was excited because it's Ring of Honor. You know, I've always loved Ring of Honor. There's a reason why I chose to cover it for Slam. I've always liked Ring of Honor. It was the other guys for the longest time when there was no other guys, right? So, I was looking forward to it from that point of view. But strictly from a creative wrestling card point of view, I'm like, what the hell is this? For the longest time, the few matches that were announced were similar to their previous show, which kind of disappointed me. But as we led it closer to the card, the card started filling out. I was a little more excited. I was a little happier. And then on Wednesday, we got the big shebang, the big surprise with, the announcement of FTR versus the Briscoes Part 3. This time, Electric Boogaloo in a tag team dog collar match. So you knew the match was going to be incredible. We'll talk about how incredible it was in a little bit. But, even going into Saturday, I was still tossing and turning on the card. But, just like always, the RoH stood tall. They did what they had to do. And it was overall a pretty fun show with potentially match of the year contender. And I'm telling you, I'm seeing the ballots come in yesterday, and I think it's interesting to see what's happened.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, late contender might be a little recency bias. We will see, though. The match was incredible, absolutely incredible. We're talking about Briscoes versus FTR. I guess it would be Tokyo Drift. Was that the third movie? I think it was the third movie. Yeah.
I think so.
Yes, because there was Draft Too Fast, Draft Too Furious, and then I think it was Tokyo Drift, right? Anyway, buddy, yeah, man, the card was built poorly. The build was shitty. It was bad, straight up bad. They announced the FTR Briscoes match at the last minute. I guess announce it on AEW Elevation Dark. You know what I mean? If you can't say the Briscoes name on TV or whatever, but they did at the end there. So I don't know, man. I don't know why they didn't spend more time building it up. It feels like this is not going to do a good number, but at the end of the day, every match was pretty good. This card super duper delivered. It over delivered. And I don't know. It's weird because Ring of Honor is going to deliver good wrestling, great wrestling sometimes. But is that enough in 2022? I think the answer is no, right? And there's some things to be enthused about, but there are some things to be worried about Ring of Honor after this show.
For sure, and I'm so glad that you completely read my mind where I wanted to go with this. And that's the thing, right? Like, one thing, there's so much wrestling out there at this point, right? That wrestling on TV, for me, this is my personal opinion, don't come yelling at me, is that there needs to be more than just good wrestling. There needs to be a compelling story. There needs to be a compelling overarching story that's going on. It's all connected. Let's, if we're going to bring it to comic books or something like that, it's all in canon. I'm going to be talking about my geek show, which you can find at itscanonpodcast.com. It needs that I don't know what, and that I don't know what, I figured it out last week, and that story and talking and all the absurdity that is professional wrestling here in North America. That's my personal take on it, right? And it sounded like that's kind of what a lot of people were leaning towards or leaning on last week, right? With this whole RoH stuff. And, well, you know what? TV stations might be feeling the same because, it was announced after the fact that RoH found a home and it's built its own home, and it's going to be on Honor Club beginning sometime in 2023, early 2023. $9.99 to watch a show on their platform. Pay-per-views coming 90 days later. Pay-per-views still being distributed the way that they are today. So in the U.S., really focused with the WB Discovery. So it's interesting. It's a shame, but it's not surprising.
Yeah, I think you summarized it pretty well. I don't know what else to add other than I am disappointed. I think any fan of professional wrestling is slightly disappointed, but it's not surprising. I don't think there was any buzz for Ring of Honor. Even wrestling fans, hardcore wrestling fans, are kind of sick of Ring of Honor, quote unquote, ruining AEW. I don't know that I necessarily believe that, but you certainly see that reaction out there a lot. So it's a thing.
It's a thing. I don't think it's the thing. A lot of people are trying to pin RoH as the reason why AEW's numbers are dipping. That's just one reason. There's so much going on right now in AEW. We have so many podcasts on the network dedicated to that already. And again, we're going to focus on the good. And overall, the good here was the show. And, I think we started seeing some seeds being planted for future Ring of Honor stories. It's kind of funny. If you listen to All Elite Weekly last week with Dan and myself, we previewed the card. And we kind of said, we don't see a lot of belts changing hands because we don't think that there's going to be TV anytime soon. What the fuck do we know?
That's funny that you said that. I actually called I was talking to Paul Yorkie, our boy here on the BAM podcast, and he was like, so how many titles are switching? And I'm like, 5 out of 6.
There you go. Yeah,
I thought it was, Ring of Honor is in a time of transition, and they're still becoming exactly what Tony Khan wants this to be, whatever that is. So that doesn't surprise me in the least.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just one of those things. Yeah, so we'll see exactly what happens in the future of Ring of Honor. But let's talk about the show that they just had on Saturday. Let's start with 0 Hour, because there was a lot of stuff going on, even in 0 Hour. So we get the show opening. Well, before we do this, come on, Boris. My head's all over the place. I do apologize for that. Matt, we're not the... We're the young guns. We're done with star ratings. Yes. What are you thinking for the rating system de jure as we talk Final Battle 2022?
I totally forgot that this was our gimmick. We saw the dog collar match. You want to go a breed of dogs for this here episode? We can do better, but it's the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah, let's do it. The first thing that comes to your mind is usually the best thing that comes to your mind.
Debatable, but let's go with it.
Literally, that was the first thing that came to my mind, and it was probably the worst thing I could have said. Anywho, let's talk 0 Hour. We get a video package to open the show. Ian Riccaboni and Caprice Coleman are on commentary. Man, RoH commentary might be the best commentary in all of wrestling.
I think you're right. At this moment. It's certainly not Vic Joseph and Booker T. Tell you that much, buddy. Certainly not whatever the F they're doing on the NWA show. I think you're right. I think it is Ring of Honor, the 2-man team of Riccaboni and Caprice Coleman. They wear the championship belt right now.
If Wade Barrett had stayed with Vic Joseph, there could have been a debate. But
they had potential. But also, you know who else is great? Kevin Kelly and Chris Charlton. They're right there. If they aren't wearing the belt, they're right there. They're probably number 2.
Yep. All right, so let's get to things. The first match of 0 Hour was Máscara Dorada versus Jeff Cobb. All right. Yes. Grand Metalik.
I was just going to say, Grand Metalik versus Matanza Cueto. What a dream match.
Yeah. Exactly. This match was a lot of fun, man. This match was exactly what you would expect from these two guys. We've seen this match before. I'm sure we'll see this match again. There was an attempt for a tour of the islands, which Dorada was able to counter. Cobb cut him off at one point with all the punches. Really strong match right? Like, it was just a really good back and forth match. Dorada went for the back to the ropes. He pulled Cobb to the mat with a bulldog style move, led to a 2 count. Cobb then battled back with a shot to the back of Dorada's head, and he then finally hit the Tour of the Islands finisher for the win in exactly 7 minutes.
Yeah, good stuff here. Jeff Cobb, just always impressive. Nice to see Grand Metalik out there. There was a time, a split second, like 2012, 13-ish, where people said he was the best luchador alive. So Grand Metalik is kind of slept on a little bit. This Mascara Dorada, people have forgotten about him. So this was a very strong match. I think we're going to go 3.5 German Shepherds out of 5. Jeff Cobb, German Shepherd, huge, agile. Everyone loves him.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. My sister-in-law, who only used to watch WWE, sometimes New Japan if that's what my brother and I were watching, but Grand Metalik was actually her favorite wrestler, period.
There you go. Yeah, he's sick, man. He's so good.
Yep. All right. So between the matches, we got videos promoting the matches. We're only going to focus on the matches here. And the second match of the night was Angelo Parker and Matt Menard versus Shinobi Shadow Squad's Cheeseburger and Eli Isom.
Yeah, I loved how much JAS we got on the show, how much Matt Menard and Angelo Parker, they cut a couple promos. They got to win a really fun match. If you wanted to be a dick, you could probably say this was the worst match on the show, and it was still good. It was still good.
Yep. Was this? That's a good question. I think it was. I never think sometimes what the worst match of the show was if nothing completely stands out, right?
Yeah, I feel you. I just because I have a number beside all of them, so it's kind of easier for me, right?
Yeah. So I love this. So the referee calls for the handshake. Parker flashed a fucking grin from ear to ear as she's shaking Ism's hand. Then he continued to shake until Ism pulled away his hand. Menard tags in, shakes his hand in the most over-the-top manner. The crowd's going crazy for Cheeseburger. I love how loved Cheeseburger is to this day. Parker demanded that Cheeseburger shakes his hand. CB does the Mega Powers wind up, then catches Parker's foot while Parker tried to kick him. And then we get the actual match starting with Cheeseburger being isolated from Eli Isom. That was essentially the story of the match. Cheeseburger called for his palm strikes. He then ran the ropes, tumbled through the ropes when Menard held a rope down from the floor. Menard entered the ring, joined Parker in performing a double DDT on Ism, and Parker covers him for the win in 5 minutes, 50 seconds.
Yeah, lots of fun, lots of personality in this match. It was not a technical clinic, but it was just a lot of character work going on in this one. I'm going to go 3 border collies out of 5, Boris. 2.0, aka Menard and Parker. They are border collies, fiercely loyal. They have a little bit of a Napoleon complex, think they're the biggest dog in the room, and we love them with all our heart, and they're probably going to die young.
Trish Adora versus Willow Nightingale was the next match. Willow Nightingale, super over. I wish more people knew who Trish Adora was, because I feel like half the crowd kind of knew her, and the half that knew her loved her, but the other half who didn't know her had zero idea how to react to her.
Yeah, I agree. Great read on that. And she impressed me because I was one who I've seen her once or twice on NWA, I think, actually, and she didn't have much of a chance to shine on Corrigan Championship Wrestling. She looked great in this match. I thought she held her own for sure.
So this match happened in Ring of Honor about last September, October. So this was good match then, good match now. Adora pulls Willow from behind into a pin. Willow sold the back of her head and neck. She comes back with a pounce. Willow lowered the straps of her gear, powered up Adora for a nasty looking sit-up powerbomb for the win. Both wrestlers hug and shake hands afterwards. This match lasting about 6 minutes.
I really like this. Had a lot of time for it. I thought both people left the ring way better off than they entered it. And Willow Nightingale has future women's world champion potential. So we're going to go 3.5 corgis out of 5. The best, most adorable dog. It's always a party when a corgi shows up. Just like Willow Nightingale.
It should be noted that during last year's RoH Women's Tournament, Willow Nightingale was the runner-up. We all know who won, and that was Roxy.
Our girl, the Connor McDavid of pro wrestling.
Yep. All right, the fourth match. The Kingdom. Matt Taven, Mike Bennett with Maria Kanellis versus Top Flight, Dante Martin and Darius Martin. Interesting to see Top Flight here. I didn't know what to expect from this match. I knew it was going to be good. Look, everyone who's listened to us long enough knows how I feel about the Kingdom. They've grown on me a lot. Top Flight, excellent. But I thought we were going to see a clash of styles in this match, and we didn't. We got a very good veteran versus rookie match.
Yeah, absolutely. It was the base of the Kingdom versus the high-flying antics of Top Flight. Babyface versus heel divide, absolutely clear. Rookies versus veterans. Yeah, this was a basic tag team match, but we don't mean that as an insult. It was textbook.
Yeah. Caprice Coleman and Ian Riccaboni did a fantastic job of telling us the story and really building up. Is Top Flight gonna win? Has the Kingdom overlooked Top Flight? Like, they did a great job in this match. They really added that dynamic that we look for when we rate matches. So Dante throws Taven back in the ring. He was distracted by Kanellis for a second time on the apron. The referee, Mike Posey, ejected Kanellis this time. The heels set up for a spike pile driver on Darius, but it was broken up. Darius holds up Bennett in a powerbomb position, but then Dante performed a springboard backflip into a dive on the elevated Bennett, which looked insane. Darius then covers Bennett and got the 3 count and the win for Top Flight in 11 minutes, 18 seconds.
Yeah, good match yet again. I would go 3 Greyhounds out of 5 for this one for the agile Top Flight tag team. Yeah, good stuff. And I was pretty shocked by the outcome, but I do think the right team won.
Agreed, 100%. I really like that, and I like that the honor code was obliged to by all 4 men. That's always cool to see. I know that some people complain about the code of honor, but it's cool to see in a quote-unquote sport where there's a lot of disrespect and whatnot, right? Like, these are people who respect each other's work ethic, right? And respect each other in the ring. So I kind of like that part of it. We always talk about that real fight feeling, and to me, having the code of honor gives us that.
I couldn't agree with you more, buddy. You just add a little sports presentation to the wacky world of professional wrestling. That's what we liked about Ring of Honor in the first place.
All right, let's get to the main show. And the first match, we'll talk about the ending. Might have had the most screwed up ending right behind the men's Iron Survivor Challenge from NXT. This match was Blake Christian and AR Fox, everyone's favorite AR Fox nowadays, versus Dralistico and RoH.
Yeah, so a very good match with what looked to me to be a highly unprofessional ending. Well, let's talk about the match itself briefly here.
The match was good. The match was fun. You have Dralistico and RoH, who are more grounded luchadors, right? Because they're the heels. They're the rudos. These guys are supposed to be grounded. They're not going to be high-flying for your applause. They are going to stick to the ground and cheat and lie and steal to get the win. And it's interesting that they were facing good guys, faces, in Blake Christian and AR Fox, who are more luchador-like. So this match had a very CMLL feeling to it. AR Fox, dude, this guy's just incredible.
Oh my God, yeah. He's been awesome since 2010, 2011 on the Indies. It's really cool to see him get this chance on the main stage.
Yep. All right. So Christian came back with a suplex on Dralistico. He tagged out. Fox worked over Dralistico for a second. RoH cut him off with a chop. Fox battled back, performed the missile drop kick. Fox then followed up with a dive over the top rope onto RoH. Fox returned to the ring. He performed the same move on Dralistico, who apparently had nothing better to do than just stand there and wait while he watched his brother take the same move just seconds before. AR Fox then performs a swanton on Dralistico. He covers him for a 2 count. Dralistico had Fox pinned. Christian leapt off the top rope to break up the pin. Fox performed a springboard flatliner on Dralistico. Christian follows this up with a move on Dralistico. He dove onto Rush. Fox does a 450 splash, goes for the cover.
Yeah, here we go.
1, 2, 3. It was just like the weirdest thing.
It looked to me like ref counts 1, ref counts 2. Dralistico was going to kick out, but ref quick counted 3. And then the match was over. And my immediate read, I have no idea if this is correct. My read was, did the wrong guys win? Were Dralistico and RoH supposed to win this match? And AR Fox just kind of accidentally won it. And then Dralistico and Rush beat the shit out of these men, including slapping the face of AR Fox really, really hard and in an unprofessional way, I think, and throwing a chair at his head.
Unprotected.
Oh, man.
Unprotected. Chair shots.
If this was not booked and RoH and Dralistico went into business for themselves and attacked AR Fox like that, I would fire those guys on the spot. Fired. Take your gear, get out, never come back. That's the wrestling is supposed to be safe, man. Like come on. If that was a shoot, quote unquote,
dude, it's
very possible that it was a worked shoot.
It seemed too chaotic because Rush grabs the cords, he grabs some rope, and he starts slapping AR Fox. He starts slapping Blake Christian. But then he just kind of drops it and just walks away, right? Like, it was just so awkward. The entire thing just seemed very strange. It seemed like no one knew exactly what was going on. Even Riccaboni and Coleman were like kind of, not sure how to commentate on this stuff. It was reported overnight that RoH has been suspended. So again, I don't know if this is legit or not.
I 100% at this point believe it was. I don't know what the end of the match was supposed to be, but I feel like the finishing spot that we saw on this night was not supposed to be the actual finish, and Dralistico and RoH were pissed, and RoH took it out on AR Fox in a highly unprofessional way. If I was running this company, he would be fired.
Jose the assistant posted this on social media overnight. Rush assaulted, in air quotes, a referee. We got fined for using chairs. We've been suspended for a week by AEW. Preston didn't get too involved and isn't suspended. You can't fool the fans. They know the match ending was bullshit.
Well, maybe it was something that AR Fox is cool with, and they're turning it into a work. I don't think he could have been worse. He slapped him really hard and threw a chair at his face. It is highly unprofessional and dangerous. But worse things happened in almost every single ECW match, for example. So it's not like he tried to kill the man, but still, gross. And if it were me and it was a shoot, I would fire him. That's all I'm saying.
Yep. All right, let's talk about the next match, which was for the RoH Women's Championship. It was Mercedes Martinez versus Athena. Okay, so let me talk about what I didn't like about this match, and that was the booking of this match. You have Athena, who's got this new tough girl attitude since the weird stuff that happened in Toronto with Judy Threat. Who knows if that was a shoot or if that was legit. You just never know sometimes, and I love that. But you get this new tough girl attitude. She punches Aubrey Edwards. She kicks everyone's ass for the last few weeks. She's being built as a heel. You give her Mercedes Martinez at home. You promote the fact that she's home. You promote the fact that she's in front of family and friends. What do you think is going to happen? She got cheered, she being Athena, the entire time.
Yeah, so Tony Khan is so weird and spotty about that. I agree that's weird. In a nutshell, that seems quote unquote wrong, but I don't think it's a bad thing to let a heel be cheered when they're in their hometown. I think it's kind of fun, but it's just so dumb that he'll do that for Athena. But for example, he won't let Chris Jericho come out to Judas in Toronto on Dynamite. You have to pay twice to see him come out to Judas on Rampage because he didn't want Jericho to be cheered on Dynamite or whatever the fuck it was. Anyway, it's just weird that he'll do things like that sometimes, but won't every time. I had no problem with it, but But if you did have a problem with it, I totally understand that.
I don't have a problem with it. I just want to point it out that it was just really weird. And okay, maybe I do have a problem with it because this is the first major match with Athena as a heel.
And she was a babyface.
And she was a babyface. So you take all of this buildup, throw it out the window. She's a babyface. She wins the belt as a babyface. So what happens to this heel character? She's just going to magically go back to it. Again, I know that you can just overlook it. She's home. You can state that. And maybe that's what the commentators are trying to do by bringing up the fact that she is home. But the dynamic of this match was really weird because Mercedes Martinez then started working as a heel and the dynamics just fell apart.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think, although the match itself was pretty good. I don't know if the dynamics of the match fell apart. The action was just like a hard hitting mean girl match, right? And it delivered. It delivered that.
That's exactly what this match was. It was Mercedes Martinez essentially kicking Athena's ass for, how long did this match go for? About 13 minutes. It was mainly Mercedes Martinez getting a lot of Athena. She did drop kicks, charged drop kicks. She was, doing, what else did she do in this match? A lot of submissions. Athena was grabbing the ropes a lot. Martinez dropped her into a code breaker at one point. There's a lot of Mercedes Martinez here. The end of the match, though, saw Martinez popping up Athena. She slammed her to the mat for a 2 count. Athena drop kicks Martinez into the exposed turnbuckle. She hits the O-face, formerly known as the Eclipse, and scored the win in 13 minutes, 10 seconds to become the new Ring of Honor Women's Champion.
So yeah, it sounds like I like this match more than you. I got exactly what I expected here, which was basically a female Blackpool Combat Club match. It was a hard-fought battle. There's an awesome brainbuster too that Mercedes hit on Athena. Just exactly what I wanted this match to be. And then Athena wins clean in front of her parents and gets a huge baby face reaction. So what do you know? I'm going to go 3.5 Bulldogs for this one. I think for obvious reasons, these two gals were rocking hard-fought battle in their Bulldog fight. For the previous match, I didn't rate it. We're going to go 3 Pomeranians out of 5 for Rush and Dralistico because they are dicks and Pomeranians are dicks.
Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland versus Shane Taylor and J.D. Griffey was the next match. Everyone
Best
wanted to see
match on the show so far.
Yeah, everyone wanted to see Keith Lee and Shane Taylor go at it. In the middle of the match, we want Shane as Lee was in the ring. Griffey tagged in Taylor. Got a great reaction. Just as Lee and Taylor were going to lock up, Swerve Strickland says, "Fuck you," tags himself right back in.
Loved it. Yeah. Just a little bit of teasing for it. And then they did obviously pay it off in such a satisfying way.
Yep. There was a back, they traded forearms once they actually did get into the match. Griffey has let's talk about JD Griffey a little bit. He has a very MMA-centric offense-looking wrestling style.
Yeah, he has MMA gloves. He has MMA shorts. He is a UFC man. They're going to do JD Griffey versus Hook sooner than later. If they haven't already, maybe JD Griffey is in Hook's victim list already.
Yep. A lot of back and forth in this match. At one point, all 4 were in the middle of the ring. They were trading punches. Strickland blasted Lee with a knee to the head. Lee and Strickland put Griffey down. Taylor blasts Lee, but then Strickland and Lee worked over Taylor. Lee swung at Taylor, who ducked, causing Lee to blast Strickland with a forearm shot. Taylor hoisted up Lee and hit his welcome to the land finisher, but Lee kicked out. Coleman said he's never seen anyone kick out of that move, which is true, at least from what I know. Griffey then hits Lee with a knee to the head. Taylor covered Lee again for another 2 count. Griffey tagged in while Strickland was shown holding his jaw at ringside, and he's kind of starting to back his way towards the stage, and he says, "Screw this," walks away, leaves Keith Lee alone. Taylor and Griffey worked over Lee while Strickland stood on the stage. The fans were booing. Taylor held Lee, who ducked, causing Griffey to take out Lee with a kick. Lee hits his finisher on Griffey, pins him to get the win, even though he was alone, in 13 minutes, 45 seconds.
Minor complaint, because like you would barely notice unless you're paying attention and taking notes and being over analytical as we are. But so they built to this huge dramatic moment where Keith Lee hits Swerve Strickland, and it meant so much that Swerve Strickland walked out on his partner, and this could finally be the actual breakup. And then a minute, 90 seconds later, JD Griffey accidentally hits Shane Taylor. They just do the exact same thing, but it's going to have no consequence. No, you know what I mean? It's just kind of funny. Like they just did the same spot, but let's not pay attention about that. Anyway, this was an excellent match. This was great. I love the storytelling. I love the action. The crowd was super duper into it. Best thing on the show so far, by far. I would say 4 Great Danes out of 5. Because they are the biggest dogs that I can think of off the top of my head anyway. And these were the biggest dogs on this show.
So you rated this as a 4, right? That's what I heard?
4 out of 5. Great match. Yeah.
I would take off half a point. This is why I would take off half a point. You know our pillars. We always talk about production. And this is when I noticed that the production on the show was off. There was missed camera shots. They're trying to exclamate the point that Swerve Strickland is leaving Lee, but they're not focusing on him with the camera. They're kind of showing him back away, but you didn't really know what was going on. So there was a few production hiccups throughout the first half of the show, especially. They did much better, especially during the dog collar match, but we'll talk about that later. So I would knock off, maybe half is too much. I would knock off at least a quarter.
Oh, interesting. Fair enough. I accept your terms.
All right. The next match was for the RoH 6-man tag team titles. Dalton Castle and the Boys versus Brian Cage and Gates of Agony, Khan, and Toa Leona, all with Prince Nana, all known as the Embassy.
Yes, sir. Yet another good, fun match. Dalton Castle just always a blast when he comes out. Cuts a great promo, putting over the show. And he a backstage promo building up the match, putting over the show, Ring of Honor final battle, putting over his opponents and himself and the boys. Dalton Castle is a professional. He's great at this. He's another one who I'm so glad to see get a shot on the main stage on AEW a couple of times before transitioning back to the deep recesses of the internet and Ring of Honor.
Yep, and that's the thing. At the end of the day, look, okay, we'll talk about the match. Castle wanted to go for a suicide dive, but the cameras missed Nana rolling on one of the boys into the ring, so Castle had to jump over him and didn't go for the dive. Castle grabbed Nana. Cameras missed Toa apparently throwing one of the boys at Castle. Toa and Khan threw one of the boys at Cage, who powerbombed him, pinned him. The Embassy win the titles in 10 minutes, 3 seconds. That's great. Okay match. Production fucked up again. But I'm fine with this because I feel like the Embassy kind of need these belts a lot more than Dalton Castle. Dalton Castle is one of those acts who doesn't need a belt.
No, absolutely right. And he could get one and it would probably benefit the belt more than him because he's somebody who could be positioned anywhere on the card and deliver. Literally in the main event, we've seen it, or the first match on the show, or anywhere in between. We are huge Dalton Castle fans on this podcast. This match was still good. Maybe this was the weakest match on the show, but I would say it was better than Matt Menard and Angelo Parker. Around the same level, we're going to go 3 chow chows out of 5. A very fancy, expensive dog breed for Dalton Castle and the boys. Losers of the tag team titles here, the trios titles.
All right, backstage, Lexi Nair interviews Darius Martin and Dante Martin. Dante said Top Flight is back after they beat the Kingdom on the pre-show. Matt Menard and Angela Parker interrupt the promo. Parker said the only congratulations they deserve is for Darius making it through a match without tearing another ACL. Menard jaws at Darius and asked if he wanted to hit him. Dante hits Menard, then all 4 men brawl. The brawl spills into the arena. Dante Martin performs a flip dive off the stage. Security pulls the team apart. Then we send Menard and Parker going to the ring. Parker worked up the crowd about RoH and then questioned why it died if it was so great. A lot of the internet asked that. Parker gave Chris Jericho credit for being the only man who could resurrect the brand. Menard asked the crowd if they wanted to know what makes his nipples hard. He pulled out one of Jake Hager's purple hats and said Claudio Castagnoli would be wearing one of them if Jericho wins. Because remember, if Jericho wins, Claudio has to join the Jericho Appreciation Society.
Yes, sir. Okay, so all this leads to Wheeler Yuta interrupting 2.0, Menard and Parker here, and coming out for his match versus Daniel Garcia. So, Boris, I have a theory about Wheeler Yuta. I may have said this on the podcast before, but we're going to roll with it again. So Raven, Scott Levy, he talks about this, and it's quite wise. Some of Raven's shoots are actually amazing if you can get through 5 hours of him rambling and being a Looney Tunes character. There's some amazing wisdom in there. And he says that every wrestling booker has a character through whom they see themselves. And he said Paul Heyman in ECW saw himself through the Raven character. He was counterculture. He was mad at the world, and he was going to do whatever he could to succeed no matter what. Fuck everybody else. He'll take on the misfits, the whole thing. And it's brilliant. So I asked myself, who does Tony Khan see himself in? And of everyone in Ring of Honor, of everyone in All Elite Wrestling, I think Tony Khan sees himself in Wheeler Yuta. Kind of looks a little bit like Tony Khan. No one has any idea who the fuck he is, where the fuck he came from, why he's here. He's not doing a bad job, but he's not particularly good at anything. He's just there. He's just the guy who has the opportunity for some reason, and people kind of dislike him, but fuck it, we're doing it. It's going to happen because he's there, and he's there because he's there. That is Wheeler Yuta, and that's kind of Tony Khan.
That's so funny. It's kind of true. Yeah, we haven't talked about that actually, so that's amazing.
I love it. I'm glad to debut that theory on the podcast then.
Yep, I can see that. All right. Daniel Garcia versus Wheeler Yuta for the ROH Pure Rules Championship. This is a match a type of match that Matt and I love. We love the Heritage Cup matches. We love the Pure Rules matches. Jerry Lynn, Christopher Daniels, and BJ Whitmer were the match judges. Just remember, you can't use closed fists. If you do, you get a warning. If you do a second time, DQ. You have 3 rope breaks. After your third rope break, you cannot use the ropes to get a break, and the submission essentially stays on. So, a lot of room to play and have interesting booking. This match was good. But it had very typical ROH Pure Rules match. You know, Wheeler Yuta used up his 3 rope holds very quick. Both men used up their 1 warning for closed fists very quick. And it was now Daniel Garcia's job to put Yuta away with a submission hold, which Yuta cannot get a break on.
Yeah, so that story has been told 1,000 times in these matches. It's an old favorite, but I mean, they worked it well. I thought this match was great. I actually really, really enjoyed it. This was, in my opinion, their best match to date.
Yeah, I think so too. I think this one was very, very good. So we got Yuta putting Garcia down with a beautiful looking brain buster. Both of them were down. Coleman reminded everyone that Yuta had burned through his rope breaks. Garcia caught Yuta in a sharpshooter. Yuta was on the ropes, but he had no rope breaks. But he was able to hook the neck of Garcia, who eventually released the hold, and then both men fell to the ground. Both wrestlers came back to the apron. They were fighting. Garcia went for a pile driver, but Yuta backdropped him back in the ring. Garcia flipped off Yuta while on his knees. Yuta ended up hooking up the arms of Garcia, then threw elbows at his head until the referee stopped the match as Garcia was essentially out. So in 14 minutes, 48 seconds, your winner and you, pure champion, Wheeler Yuta.
Yeah, great wrestling match here. Decisive victory for Wheeler Yuta, though Garcia was in the driver's seat for the first 13 minutes of this 14.5-minute match. So I kind of liked how they flipped that. And yet, like, if you watch the match, you would have no doubt that Wheeler Yuta was the winner, was on this night the better man. But Daniel Garcia held his own and kind of dominated at some points. So I thought this was pretty damn good, all things considered. They achieved pretty much exactly what they needed to.
Yep. All right. So after the match, the referee calls for a post-match handshake. Yuta holds out his hand. Garcia kicks Yuta's hand away. and the belt along with it. Garcia picks up the belt, hands it to Yuta, and he just leaves the ring without looking at him.
All right, so he did refuse the code of honor, but he didn't attack him. He handed him the belt like a man. So he's a sore loser. He's a punk, but at the end of the day, he did kind of do the right thing. I thought this was a great match. Yet again, we're gonna go 4 dachshunds out of 5 for this one. 4 wiener dogs out of 5, Boris.
All right, it is time to talk about what should have been the main event. Dan and I last week were even talking about the fact that we've both thought this was going to close the show. This has closed, other shows that they've fought in. So go figure. FTR, Dax Harwood, and Cash Wheeler versus Jay Briscoe and Mark Briscoe in a double dog collar match for the RoH Tag Team titles. Where do we start? How do we even cover this match?
One of the bloodiest matches I've ever seen, ever in wrestling, ever. I've been watching this shit a long time, man. I've been watching since I was 3 years old in 1990. I really try to be a student of the game. A, because we're doing this podcast now, but B, because I fucking love wrestling. I just love it. I've been interested in it my whole life. What matches come to mind in terms of bloodiest I've ever seen? The match with the Muda scale. Super bloody, obviously, where Hiroshi Hase wrestles the Great Muta and hits him with a spike and Great Muta blades to such an extent that wrestling fans have invented the term Muta scale for how much people bled in comparison to this match. Another match, I think you're about to mention it. You can even say it, buddy.
Eddie Guerrero Undertaker match.
JBL. Eddie Guerrero.
JBL, sorry.
Yes. Another one of the bloodiest matches of all time, Undertaker versus Vince McMahon, Survivor Series, I think it was 2003.
Something like that.
It was like, was it Buried Alive, Undertaker versus Vince McMahon, Survivor Series 2003? Someone's going to look that up. I hope I'm correct off the top of my head. That's one of the bloodiest ever. Anyway, I think this is the most blood I've seen in a wrestling match. All 4 of the main wrestlers were covered, especially Jay Briscoe and Dax. And the referee bladed hard. He bladed a good blade job, not a small one.
Someone took their Tylenol before the match. That's for damn sure.
Jesus H. Lord. So yeah, this is a violent, just a bloodbath, but very inventive in terms of spots. Each one more dangerous than the last. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like this is an all-timer.
Okay, so the bleeding started. Okay, let's say this. Jay was attached to Harwood. Mark was attached to Wheeler. Both teams just attack each other. They go outside, over the barricade, fighting in the crowd. Wheeler and Mark went to the stage. This is when production kind of got a little better for the show because they did split screens like a video game or something when both guys were far away from each other. I like that touch. I think we got the first blade job or the first blood in the first under 5 minutes of this match.
Yes, yeah, they did not waste time. The Briscoes were bleeding quick.
Yep. All right, so back in the ring. We're going to go into detail in this match. There's a lot to go through. So Harwood and Jay were in the ring. Wheeler wraps a dog collar around the ring post to choke Mark. He fought free, returned to the ring. Mark and Wheeler fought at ringside. There were loud dueling chants for 2 teams. The crowd was hot throughout this entire match. Mark returned to the ring. Wheeler was on the steps. A chair was wedged in a corner. Jay tried to run Harwood into it, but Harwood reversed it. Wheeler pulled the chain to choke Mark and then hit him with punches. Wheeler returned to the ring and whipped Mark with the chain while Harwood held him in the ring. Harwood pulls a Bloody Jay into the ring post. So what I really enjoyed at this point, and what I've been noticing, is that they're kind of taking turns with spots, right? Like,
yeah,
and they're going back and forth. That's what I really enjoyed about this.
It was so intelligent, and it was the only way to do it, but they did it so organically and perfectly that you didn't even really notice. Like it was your turn, my turn, but it totally was.
Yep. All right. So In the ring, Harwood put Jay on his shoulders. Wheeler wrapped the chain around his fist and then leapt off the top rope for a punch version of the Doomsday Device, which resulted in a 2 count. Wheeler then choked Mark in a gory bomb position. Harwood flipped Mark's abdomen with the chain. Wheeler tossed Mark over the top rope, then pulled the chain to choke him. Jay ran Harwood into the other pair's chain to free Mark from the choke. So again, very constructive, very different ways of using the chain. And I can't recall ever seeing a tag team dog collar match. So it was very creative in how they were breaking up the pins and using the chain within the 4 of them throughout the match.
100%. There's a famous one that comes to mind in ECW is the Pitbulls versus Raven and is it Steven Richards and Raven? I forget who Raven's tag team partner is on that night, but
yeah, I don't remember. I know which one you're talking about, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I'll quickly look that up while you're doing this thing.
Okay, so back in the ring, Mark leapt from the top rope, hit a froggy bow elbow on Wheeler for a 2 count. Mark set up a table on the floor while Jay Harwood fought inside in the ring. Wheeler tried to suplex Mark onto a stack of chairs, which was on the other side of the table. Mark resisted suplex Wheeler onto the floor. All 4 men at this point were just bleeding heavily. Harwood knocked Jay off the ropes by thrusting the chain at him. There's a lot of back and forth here. All right, so this is when the referee gets it. Harwood wrapped the chain around his fist, punched Jay several times, but then Jay pulls the referee in front of him, causing Harwood to punch out the referee while the chain was wrapped around his neck, which meant that now that the referee was bleeding, we got a fight forever chant. Chant broke out while Mark and Wheeler were fighting in the apron. Wheeler got the better of it, placed Mark on the table at ringside next to the stack of chairs. Wheeler went to the ropes, but Mark stood up, cut him off. Mark punched Wheeler off the apron, then pulled the chain to get him back on the apron. Mark dropkicked Wheeler back to the floor, placed him on top of the table. Mark went to the ropes. Jay set up Harwood for the Doomsday Device, but Wheeler returned to the apron, pulled the chain, causing Mark to take an insane-looking bump, a flip that I didn't think he was going to get off from the top ropes onto the stack of chairs on the outside. This looked dangerous for both guys. It looked dangerous, obviously, for Mark because he went from the top rope to a bunch of chairs on the outside, but also for Wheeler because he didn't, there's only so much chain that he had, which was attached to his neck.
Absolutely. Thankfully, these were long chains and it gave them some wiggle room, literally and figuratively. But yeah, very dangerous, terrifying spot.
Yep. We got a J driller at this point. We were setting up a second J driller on a chair, but Harwood kicks him in the balls. Harwood Paul drove Jay onto the chairs, covered him for a good near fall. Harwood put Jay in a seated position on the top rope, then chopped him a few times. Harwood set up for the top rope pile driver onto the chairs, but Jay fought him off, slipped under him. He then used the chain to crotch Harwood, and then he took out Wheeler when he tried to get involved. Jay superplexed Harwood onto the pile of chairs inside the ring. Mark held the chain to prevent Wheeler from returning to the ring. The cameras missed Jay covering Harwood for a near fall. Jay pulled the chain, which was in Harwood's mouth. Wheeler continued his attempt to get back in the ring, but Mark held onto the chain to stop him, and Harwood passes out to give them boys the win in 22 minutes, 25 seconds to become the new RoH Tag Team titles. I need some water.
Yes, sir. Okay, first things first. On September 16th, 1995, airing September 22nd, 1995, the Pit Bulls defeated Raven and Stevie Richards in a 2 out of 3 falls dog collar match for the ECW tag titles at ECW Gangsta's Paradise 1995. So clean that up there. This is one of the best matches I've ever seen in my life. Straight up, the bloodiest, one of the most violent, one of the most terrifying. I don't know what else to say about it. I could throw a bunch of accolades at it. Dave Meltzer, the great Dave Meltzer, friend of the show here at Sunday Night's Main Event Radio, said that it was no less than the greatest chain match he'd ever seen. I think this is the greatest match in the history of professional wrestling that involves people tied to each other. There's an amazing bull rope match between Stan Hansen and Carlos Colon from 1986. This is better than that. This is better than Valentine versus Piper. This is a 5-star match. One of the greatest wrestling matches in the history of professional wrestling. 5 Rottweilers out of 5, 100%, A++, no less than the second best match of the year.
There you go. There you have it. Getting the elusive 5-something from the Bam Boys.
5 blanks out of 5.
Yep, it's crazy. I love it. It was such a good match. I can't add anything else to this, to your description of how good it was. It was damn good, and this is why I fucking love wrestling.
Yeah, exactly right, man. Yeah, and it just you needed a cigarette after this one. You felt for all 5 men, including the referee who bled buckets in this match. Just insane. Just absolute wanton chaos and terror across the land.
Yep. Like, for me, this match should have ended the show. I don't know why it didn't. Maybe it was the world title should end it type of discussion. But I'm under the impression that it should be a belt or the most important match, the biggest marquee match, which, let's be honest, is this.
I think it had to be this. I'm not sure how to put it. The emotional climax of the show needs to be the last thing. That's what it needs to be. A title belt doesn't matter. Whatever doesn't matter. Emotional climax of the show should be the last thing that you see. So this should have closed the show. The reason why I think it didn't is because the Briscoes won. They closed the show when FTR won, and the AEW guys stood tall at the end. So I think they wanted Claudio to be the one who stands tall at the end. And more than Claudio, the Blackpool Combat Club standing tall at the end. We're here. We're still going. We have all the belts. All is right with the world. I think that's why they booked it like this. But I think that was a mistake. This should have closed the show.
The only other, I think you're right 100%, especially with Ian Riccaboni's The Heart of RoH line to close the show. So I've never been so adamant about a match needing to main event since Rock Hogan WrestleMania 18.
Wow, that adamant, you say?
That adamant. All right, after the match,
I think you're wrong. Sorry.
I think a lot of things about you. After the match, the Briscoes celebrated their win. They left the ring. Harwood and Wheeler slowly got to their feet. They were being cheered. That's for when Austin Gunn and Colton Gunn hit the ring, attack FTR. They take the mic and say FTR's legacy is dying. The Briscoes returned to the ring, causing the Gunns to leave, while the crowd serenaded them with Ass Boys chants. The Briscoes stood in the ring. Harwood was face down on the mat with a microphone right next to him. Harwood said their mission now is to beat the ass of the Gunns.
Loved it. So I for the record, I said I don't disagree with you, buddy. I 100% agree with what you said. Annie Hoosen. So yeah, I love this little touch where Dax cuts a promo, but he can't physically lift the microphone because he's dead. So he cuts a promo face down in his own blood. It's just that I've never seen that before. So yeah, another touch to add another quarter star to this if you wanted to.
And I do enjoy the fact that this match wasn't the second to last match, because I think everyone needed a smoke after this match.
Crowd needed a cool down.
And I felt so bad for the next match, which was Samoa Joe versus Juice Robinson for the RoH TV title.
Yeah, in a vacuum, a good match, but geez, I mean, it had no chance to follow the previous, nor did Jericho Claudio, honestly.
No, it didn't. Again, since WrestleMania 18, I felt sorry for everyone after those matches, right? Like, let's just cut to it. Joe went for a muscle buster. Robinson slips into a sunset flip for a 2 count. Robinson then went up to the top rope, but Joe shot up, hit the ropes to crotch him. Joe took Robinson headbutt and then punched him. Joe hit the muscle buster and scored a very clean win to become the only champion to leave still champion after tonight. as he won in 13 minutes, 40 seconds.
The only man to successfully defend a title. I thought this was a really good match, like I said, like in a vacuum. But no chance following. I bet half the crowd was having a smoke or taking a pee or whatever it was. But I still think this was a good match, though. We're going to go 3 Siberian Huskies out of 5 for Samoa Joe over Juice Robinson.
Yep. And it's time for the main event as Chris Jericho went one-on-one with Claudio Castagnoli for the RoH Championship. Bobby Cruz did the in-ring introductions. Paul Turner was the referee. Castagnoli offers his hand for the code of honor, but Jericho kicked him. Jericho left the ring when he went after the broadcast team, specifically Riccaboni. Both Riccaboni and Coleman run away. Jericho runs into a clothesline from Castagnoli to start the match. And I kind of like that way to start this match because it kind of like puts everything full circle in a neat little package.
Absolutely, yeah. The storytelling and the announcing, like we said off the top, is just fantastic on this show.
Yep. Jericho does his best in this match. Jericho controls a lot of the match. Castagnoli's trying, to find his uppercuts, but Jericho always has an answer to those. At one point, both men are fired up, each of them running clotheslines. Eventually, Castagnoli went for the swing, but Jericho countered it into a Walls of Jericho. Castagnoli reached for the ropes. Jericho pulls him back to the middle of the ring. Castagnoli eventually makes one more attempt to successfully reach the ropes this time. Some of the rope, so the hold was broken. Jericho gets up, starts cheering, thinking he won the match. The referee kind of had to say, "Oh no, you didn't." Jericho gets upset. Jericho takes his attention away from Castagnoli, only to get a beautiful looking uppercut. Both men were down. This opened the door for Matt Menard and Angela Parker to come out. Parker distracted the referee while Menard slipped Jericho's baseball bat to him. Jericho hit Castagnoli with the bat, tossed it to ringside. Then Jericho laid down like he was still very wary. So he's killing time at this point. Castagnoli's down. Jericho is down. Referee turns around. Jericho slowly covers Castagnoli, and this is only good for a 2 count on the pin, which, some could say that Jericho just wasted too much time there. The referee then ejects Menard and Parker from ringside. Castagnoli caught Jericho in an inside cradle for a 2 count. When they stood up, Jericho put Castagnoli down with a code breaker. Jericho stands up, calling for Castagnoli to get up because he wanted to go for the Judas effect. When Castagnoli got up, Castagnoli stuffs the Judas effect. Castagnoli does the spin on Jericho until the referee eventually, out of nowhere, calls for the match to end as Jericho submitted mid-swing in 17 minutes, 10 seconds as Claudio Castagnoli becomes a 2-time RoH champion.
So I thought it would have been better served to chop like 3 or 4 minutes off of this match, especially with the crowd already having emotionally climaxed in the Double Dog Collar. So yeah, you didn't need a 17-minute main event after Double Dog Collar, but they had to wrap this story up. So I get it. Felt like it went a little too long. Loved the finishing stretch, which you heard off the top of this podcast, where Claudio swings Jericho and swings him. And between swing 26 and 27, Chris Jericho submits. He taps out to the giant swing. So that was a great finish. I'm sure Jericho came up with it. Seems like classic Jericho idea,
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah.
Confetti shoots off. Castagnoli celebrates. Riccaboni had mentioned that Castagnoli had Jericho in the swing for 33 rotations. Wheeler Yuta, Jerry Lynn enter the ring. They celebrate with Castagnoli. Everyone's going crazy. Riccaboni talks about how the year started off with uncertainty for RoH, and once Tony Khan acquired it, it is now the heart of RoH is beating stronger than ever.
So I get why Tony wanted Claudio and Yuta there, but they could have had that with the Briscoes and FTR. They could have done that exact same ending, that exact same blow line, and I think it would have landed better with Briscoes and FTR in the ring bleeding buckets, personally.
I agree 100% with you. As if the you essentially couldn't end the show with non AEW ROH wrestlers ending it, right? But if FTR was there, and again, I know there's a lot of rumors swirling about their future. Who knows what's going on there? But whatever. The ROH Championship closed the show. Casanova,
small complaint.
It's a very small complaint. But when the match was that good, when the match made literally everyone climax at the same time, where men were pairing off with other men to start fights and women were getting pregnant on the spot, you knew that match was good.
And that is exactly what happened at the end of the match. Look it up. Anyway, so we're going to go 3.5 Alaskan Malamutes out of 5 for this one. The Alaskan Malamute, a large breed of dog that was originally bred for its strength and endurance, known to be quite friendly. That reminds me of Claudio Castagnoli, bred for strength and endurance. 3.5 stars for this main event, and he is your new Ring of Honor champion. Very good show with one of the best wrestling matches I've ever seen. Either number 1 or number 2 on the list to end the year. And the other match that's going to be 1 or 2 was Briscoes versus FTR 1.
Yep. Exactly. So we'll sort that out. That was the show. Overall, very good show. There wasn't really a bad match on the card. There were matches worse than other. There were matches worse than other matches, but there wasn't a bad match. But the Briscoes and FTR carried the shit out of this match or out of this card.
Yes, sir. Yeah, 12 for 12. Good matches all around, and it was a good way to close out the year for Ring of Honor. And a good way to close out the year for the Bam Boys doing these aftercasts. Now, I think our next aftercast is probably going to be Wrestle Kingdom.
Yep.
Question mark?
So we need to, it might be Stardom, the December 29th show, but for sure it'll be Wrestle Kingdom in the new year. We just got to figure out kind of what our schedules look like and the level of enthusiasm on that Stardom card. But we will see exactly what's going on. But a perfect way to end the year on Sunday night's main event is for the best and the worst of 2022, which if you're a Patreon, you have your ballot. We have extended the deadline, giving you until after Dynamite, because you never know what can happen. I don't think we're going to get a better match out of the year, but you just never know. So the ballot for the best and the worst of 2022 has been extended until 11:59 on Wednesday, December the 14th. Get your ballot in, get your voice heard. These shows are always a lot of fun to record, and they're always a lot of fun to listen back to. So that's what's going on there. That's that, my friend. That is that.
Yeah, just excited for that year-end show that's coming soon. Be sure to fill out your ballots. Also, last patron standing has wrapped up. We have a champion. We're starting a new season. Check out Facebook for all the details there. And shout out to our champion, Ronnie Emeguara. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, my friend, but yeah, I think the right man won this contest. He is getting a prize pack very soon, and we're going to start season 2, January 4th, Wrestle Kingdom. You have to be a tier 2 patron here at Sunday night's main event to play, but it's a lot of fun. And our first game lasted from February to December 2022. So this might be a full year project you're taking on here.
Yep, exactly. It started Royal Rumble, went up until deadline, final battle day. What's a crazy year. So much wrestling that we've had, so much great wrestling that we had. Like I put on the Facebook group, we are just so blessed to have all this great wrestling, all this great entertainment. As the world is what the world does, it's just really good being able to watch some wrestling, talk about wrestling to the masses on these podcasts. So I want to thank everyone. Matt, as always, want to thank you for being my partner in crime as we chat.
Cheers, buddy.
And navigate around the world of professional wrestling. That's it for today. Got the full week of shows coming at you. Best and worst. Get your ballot in. Patreon.com/SNME Radio. If you want to become a patron and get your late ballot in. Thank you for listening. He's Matt. I'm Boris. Till next time, stay tranquilo.
Yeah.